Hi there, I'm TheFarmerJ, and welcome back to Jay Plays Every Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons game. This is the series where I play 1 year of every Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons game. Today's video is about Harvest Moon Back to Nature. Harvest Moon Back to Nature was developed by Victor Interactive Software. It was produced by the original creator of the series, Yasuhiro Wada, and it was directed by a team including the following individuals listed on screen. The music for the game was composed by Miyuki Homoreda. Also, I don't think I have mentioned the name before, but Igusa Matsuyama was the character designer of Back to Nature, as well as the character designer for every mainline game in the franchise that I know of. Before researching this video, I had no idea that there was anyone still working on the series who had been there from the very beginning. I may do a separate video someday talking about Igusa Matsuyama because they have given a number of very interesting interviews, but for now, here is a variety of their artwork from over the years. It is so clear that a lot of care and love went into these pieces. Back to Nature was released in Japan in December of 1999 as Bokujo Monogatari Habetsuto Moon, or Ranch Story Harvest Moon. It was released in November 2000 in North America and January 2001 in all PAL regions. It received favorable reviews overall and an 82% on Metacritic. In December 2000, Bokujo Monogatari Habetsuto Moon for Garu, or Ranch Story Harvest Moon for Girl, was released in Japan for PlayStation. This version of the game was never released outside of Japan, and it's very similar overall to Back to Nature, but you play as a female character. Harvest Moon Boy and Girl was later released in 2005 in Japan and 2007 in North America for the PSP. This version of the game is a port of Back to Nature, as well as the girl version previously only released in Japan. Per the wiki, there are some differences while playing as a girl, including the ability to marry male characters, but the weirdest and kind of offensive thing is that if you get married while playing as a female character, the game ends. Yeah. Also, I figured I would mention it now, but when there are different versions of the games, such as A Wonderful Life, Another Wonderful Life, and A Wonderful Life Special Edition, I plan to only play the main game for the series and then possibly try a day or two of the other versions. However, if a game is a complete remake, I'll play that game as well. An example of this is the later Game Boy Advance game, Friends of Mineral Town, which is actually a remake of Back to Nature. Or Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, which is a remake of a remake. And the final piece of housekeeping that I wanted to mention is that I played this game on an emulator on the computer rather than on original hardware. For this series, I have gone back and forth about whether I wanted to play the games as they originally looked, or with the updated resolution and other graphical enhancements often possible on emulators. I decided to play the games with whatever enhancements are possible, since I really want to show what it's like to play these games nowadays in comparison to modern farming sims. I don't know if the logic of that makes sense, but I figure it also just looks better on the video, so just go with it. Anyway, back to Nature. Back to Nature is the second 3D game in the series, and it was released on PlayStation, making it the first game in the series to be released on a non-Nintendo console. It's also the first game to take place in a location other than Flowerbud Village, Mineral Town. The majority of the characters in Back to Nature were also featured in Harvest Moon 64 and look almost identical in this game. However, many of their family relationships, roles in the village, and personalities are different. I'll go more into depth on this topic later in the video. I had played the Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town remake a couple years back, so I was familiar with many of the characters and aspects of the story. The art style never really connected with me though, so I was really excited to jump into this game that is another highly praised entry in the franchise. The overall premise of the game is similar to most others in the series, though you do get more backstory. You're shown a flashback to your character's time in childhood spent on the farm, and then told that 10 years later your grandfather has died and left you the farm. You're given 3 years to show that you can improve the farm before you're judged. To farm, you clear the field of rocks, weeds, and stumps before planting and harvesting crops. There's a nice selection of crops in the game, and there are no bizarre mechanics from other games such as only having access to certain seeds depending on the gender or the name you choose. The seeds you plant are in a 3x3 pattern, and in spring, there are turnip, potato, and cucumber seeds available to buy at the supermarket, cabbage available at Juan's shop in the inn, and strawberry available at the supermarket after you have shipped 100 of each spring crop. In summer, there are tomato, corn, and onion seeds available to buy at the supermarket, pineapple available at Juan's shop in the inn, and pumpkins available at the supermarket after you have shipped 100 of each summer crop. In fall, there are carrot, eggplant, and sweet potato seeds available to buy at the supermarket, green pepper available at Juan's shop in the inn, and spinach available at the supermarket after you have shipped 100 of each fall crop. I went a bit overboard with the sweet potatoes and didn't even have enough energy every day to water and harvest them, even with the help from the harvest sprites. Like many other games in the series, you can't plant crops outside in the winter, though you can plant them in a hothouse if you build one. Like in Harvest Moon 64, the hothouse is very expensive to make and can be destroyed in storms, so it didn't really seem worth it to me to make one. For animals, you can raise chickens, cows, and sheep and gather their related products. You can also buy mayonnaise, cheese, and yarn makers from the blacksmith and make even more of a profit. In addition to livestock, you're given a free dog and pony early on in the game. After 1 year, the pony grows up to become a full-size horse, though I'm pretty sure ponies and horses are just different breeds of horse, but whatever, we'll go with it. In order to keep the horse when it grows up, though, it must have at least 8 hearts by the end of the year, so make sure to whistle for it and brush it daily. It can be very annoying, though, to get it in and out of the barn. And unfortunately, you can't get a cat as a pet in this game, but you can visit one in town. Another new feature in Back to Nature is that the harvest sprites are able to help water and harvest your crops, as well as take care of your animals and ship their products. This can be very beneficial if you have planted 1 billion sweet potatoes that you could never ever take care of yourself. A very relatable situation, I'm sure. But make sure to talk to them regularly and gift them things, or their heart amounts will lower and they'll no longer help you. Harvest Moon 64 introduced a basic mining mechanic, but in Harvest Moon Back to Nature, it's an essential part of the game. In the mine, you use the hoe to find ore or holes in the ground. If you go down the holes, you get to lower levels of the mine that include rare varieties of ore. In order to upgrade your tools, you must use that tool a certain amount, and then once you have reached that amount, you can bring the tool and the proper type of ore to the blacksmith so you can upgrade your tool. Also, you can skip levels of tool upgrades, so for example, you could go from a regular to a gold watering can if you wanted, and save money and time. And the other types of ore you find in the mine can be used to make jewelry or build the maker machines. Harvest Moon 64 also introduced the idea of recipes, though it was bizarre that you just collected them but couldn't really cook. Harvest Moon Back to Nature is the first game in the series to implement a real cooking mechanic. After you upgrade your house, you get a kitchen that you can use to cook the recipes you find from talking to people in town, watching the cooking show on TV, and other ways. There are main ingredients that you must use, as well as optional ingredients that you can also use to upgrade the stamina recovery of each food. You can't sell the food you cook, but you can give it as a gift, eat it, or enter it in the cooking competition in the spring. Since I only played this game for 1 year, I didn't get super far into the cooking, but there are even other kitchen items that you can buy to make certain recipes later on. The final main gameplay mechanic to talk about is fishing. It's fine. It's pretty much the same as fishing in Harvest Moon 64. You press the button and hold it to cast the line, and then stop holding the button when the fishing pole moves. Like in Harvest Moon 64, it is quite difficult to time correctly. While Harvest Moon GBC2 introduced real fish names to the game, you're mainly just catching small, medium, and large fish in the game, though there are some special named fish you can get under certain conditions. Fishing's not really my favorite part of this game, but it's a way to make money without farming if that's your thing. Now for a brief intermission before we get into the characters and romance. Like I said earlier in the video, Back to Nature mainly includes characters that are reused from Harvest Moon 64. I'm not going to go into every character difference, but I will give some examples as they relate to the main bachelorettes. The channel, Garnet and Eggs, has some very in-depth videos about the different family trees, and I really recommend checking those out. In Back to Nature, you can romance and marry one of the bachelorettes in town and have a child. They can also marry another person in town, the rival, though they will not have a child in this game, unlike in 64. Anne is a tomboy like in 64, and her father in both games is Doug. In 64, Anne's family lives on a farm, and Gray is her older brother. In Back to Nature, Anne works with her father cooking and cleaning at the inn. Anne's rival in both games is Cliff. Ellie's grandmother is Ellen in both games, though Ellen does not die in Back to Nature. But in Back to Nature, she also has a younger brother named Stu, who was just a random kid who lived with his grandpa in 64. She has a kind demeanor in both games, but in 64 she works at the bakery, and in Back to Nature she works in the clinic as a midwife with the doctor. Ellie's rival in 64 is Jeff, and in Back to Nature it is Doctor. Yep, that's his legal name. Karen is assertive, outgoing, and a fan of wine. Karen is friendlier early on in Back to Nature than she is in 64, and it seems to me like 64 treats her alcohol use as more problematic than it's treated in Back to Nature. In 64, Gotts and Sasha are her parents, and Cliff is her cousin. In Back to Nature, her mother is still Sasha, but Jeff, who was the rival for Ellie in 64, is her father. Karen's rival in 64 is Kai, and in Back to Nature, it's Rick. If you've seen my Harvest Moon 64 video, you'll know that I romanced Karen in 64, and did the same in this game, though didn't get quite to the point of marrying her due to only playing for 1 year. Mary is shy and works at the library in both games. She is named Maria in 64, by the way. Mary's mother and father are Anna and Basil in Back to Nature, and in 64 they are the mayor and mayor's wife, who technically is really just Anna, but she wasn't named in that game. Mary's rival in Back to Nature is Gray, and in 64 it's Harris the mailman, who is a police officer in Back to Nature. Policing what? Who knows? Egg crime, I guess? The final bachelorette is Potpourri, who is friendly and upbeat. Potpourri's mother and father in 64 are Lilia and Basil, and in Back to Nature they are Lilia and an unseen character named Rod. Potpourri's brother is Rick in Back to Nature. Potpourri's rival is Gray in 64, and in Back to Nature it's Kai. Also, Rick is low-key racist to Kai, to be honest. He's always freaking out about him flirting with Potpourri. Calm down, man. So, yeah, as you can see, the relationships between characters are much different in this game compared to Harvest Moon 64, and it was a bit difficult to remember the differences between games since I played the games so close together. It felt kind of sad to start up this game and meet Karen again, only for her to not remember me, and especially sad is Gots. In Harvest Moon 64, Karen's his daughter, and he's married, though kind of unhappily, but in Back to Nature, he's isolated in the woods since his entire family died in a snowstorm. Would I recommend playing Harvest Moon Back to Nature? It's a little hard to say. As I play through the games in order, Back to Nature is certainly my favorite game so far, but the later game, Friends of Mineral Town, is a remake of this game, and that's also well loved, so I can't really say at this time which game is the better overall experience, so I'll get back to that question in a few videos after I play Friends of Mineral Town. Harvest Moon Back to Nature feels like the first full-blown Harvest Moon game. It's like everything from the games before was leading up to this, and it feels like a blueprint for every future farming sim. Most gameplay aspects from previous games are much more refined and expanded upon here, and the menus are also a significant upgrade. I love being able to see the animal heart levels, the tool upgrade levels, the number of crops shipped, and a record of your profits. The character interactions have depth, though it does take more time and effort to develop the relationships. Ah yes, time and effort. To be honest, this video took a long time to put together, and I began to feel frustrated. How could I stick to a bi-weekly upload schedule as the games in this series get larger and more complex? How much time will I be able to dedicate to these videos once my child is born and I have the responsibilities that come with being a new parent and working full-time? It's honestly impossible to know what my future looks like as I enter parenthood soon. I had talked in earlier videos about sticking to a bi-weekly upload schedule for this series, but I know now that just won't be possible for me as I live my busy life and want to create videos I'm proud of. And wouldn't it be a funny thing to do? To try to rush through a game that's about slow life in a rural town? I'd rather savor the moments in these games and find enjoyment in them, and then share that with you all. This has been TheFarmerJ. Next time we'll be playing Harvest Moon Game Boy Color 3. The next video will be out when it's ready. Have you ever played Harvest Moon Back to Nature? What did you like or dislike about it? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, consider subscribing. See you next time!